Elon Musk has been running wild, undermining our democracy, creating chaos, and imposing his will from the inside and facing zero consequences. I kept asking, and maybe you did too, how is this possible? Why can't our Democrat leaders push back? Well, in today's breaking news, 2 U.S. senators are finally taking action to rein him in, and you're going to want to hear what they're doing via the breakdown coming up next. I will have more about their exact maneuver in just a minute, but first I want you to see the shouting match that erupted on the House side when Democrats in the Oversight Committee called for Elon Musk to come and testify before them, and on the other side, I'll show you what Senators Warren and Wyden did to light a fire under Musk.
Mr. Chairman, why don't we want to debate Elon Musk coming in and talking to us about his work and how he's enriched himself for $64 billion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Dr. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to table the motion.
There's
I
a
second.
motion to table. Is there a
Mr.
second?
Chairman.
Second by Mr. Higgins.
Point of order,
Now,
Mr.
the
Chairman.
motion is not debatable, as many
Point of order, Mr.
are in
Chairman.
favor of tabling. Point of order. State your point.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's outrageous that this committee will not even entertain a motion.
No, you state your.
Mr. Chairman, that's not a point of order.
Somebody
You know,
who's breaking the law
agree. Point
and
of order.
dismantling our federal
There's
agencies
been a
by
vote. You're
acquiring
demagoguing.
federal
Out of order.
agencies
No,
and
we don't listen to
tax
demagogues.
data,
Out of
and
order.
you will not
Out of order.
even
Out of order.
entertain a motion
The
to
motion
break
is
this
ordered.
in
This is
front of the
demagoguery. This is
oversight
out of order.
committee.
As are in favor of tabling.
Yes,
signify.
let's have order in this country.
Stansberry, you're out of order. You know you're out of order. You know the rules of this committee. There's been a motion.
Mr.
and a
Elon
second to
Musk is
table.
out of
Now,
order and dismantling.
He's out of order.
I call the question.
There's been a motion and second. Motion by Dr. Fox, second by Mr. Higgins to table. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion
Mr.
is
Chairman,
tabled.
I ask for a recorded
A
vote.
recorded vote is ordered.
So that clip revealed that Republicans are standing by the hitman Elon Musk, who is carrying out another destructive mission for the mob boss Donald Trump. But the party of law and order is striking back with a move of their own. Enter Democrat Senators Warren and Wyden, who sent this letter of demand to the Comptroller General of the United States Government Accountability Office. And here's my newsreader to deliver every jaw-dropping word.
Dear Mr. Dodaro, we write to ask that the Government Accountability Office, GAO, conduct an investigation of reports indicating that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent granted Elon Musk and other Department of Government Efficiency employees unprecedented access to the federal government's payment systems on January 31st, 2025. These reports are deeply troubling. These critical systems process trillions of dollars of transactions each year and contain sensitive personal and financial information for tens of millions of Americans. These systems ensure that Social Security checks, tax refunds, and Medicare benefits are paid on time and are essential to preventing a default on federal debt. GAO must investigate and determine who was granted access to these systems, why and how this access was granted, and the implications for the nation's economic and national security. According to the public reporting, newly confirmed Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was personally involved in granting Mr. Musk and his team access to these systems, and in pushing out the department of the Treasury Department's top career official, Mr. David Liebrick, who has long overseen the federal government's financial infrastructure and its operations, including managing the extraordinary measures the department has been taking to avoid a default on U.S. debt. The process by which Mr. Musk's team obtained access to these systems is troubling, as are the implications. First, the access may threaten economic and national security. These systems control the flow of over $6 trillion in payments to American families, businesses, and other recipients each year, with millions relying on them for Social Security checks and Medicare benefits, federal salaries, government contract payments, grants, and tax refunds this filing season. Information in these systems is also critical to the department's managing payments on the national debt, and Mr. Liebrick was a key official responsible for the extraordinary measures the department has been taking to avoid a default that could have devastating consequences. A misstep here could result in a global financial meltdown that costs trillions of dollars and millions of jobs. In addition, the access provided to Mr. Musk and his team has important privacy implications for millions of Americans. The Treasury payment systems include sensitive personal information about the millions of Americans who receive Social Security checks, tax refunds, and other payments from the federal government. It is not clear why these individuals were granted unfettered access to such data, what they could do with it once inside these systems, and what protections are in place to ensure the department has been complying with its legal obligations under the Privacy Act, 26 U.S.C. 6103, as well as other statutes and Treasury regulations that protect such sensitive information about millions of Americans. Finally, with access to these critical systems, Mr. Musk or others in the Trump administration may be able to illegally enact a political agenda and unilaterally restrict disbursement of money approved for specific purposes by Congress. His team reportedly sought access in part so Mr. Musk could deploy his engineers to find ways to turn off the flow of money from the Treasury Department to things that Mr. Trump wants to defund. Given the threats to Americans' privacy and the national and economic security risks posed by Mr. Musk and his team's access to critical federal payment systems, we ask that the GAO conduct this investigation as rapidly as possible. This investigation should answer the following questions. 1. Under what circumstances were Mr. Musk and members of his team granted access to the Treasury Department's federal payment systems? 2. What specific systems were accessed? 3. Which individuals at the department provided Mr. Musk and members of his team with access? 4. Did the White House or Secretary Bessent place any undue pressure on career officials to grant this access? 5. Did the individuals who were granted access to these systems have appropriate training and clearances? 6. What information in these systems have these individuals accessed? What have they done with it? And what was their rationale? 7. What laws, rules, regulations, or policies are in place to protect privacy with regard to these payment systems, including the protection of tax data under 26 U.S.C. 6103? Were any of these laws, rules, regulations, or policies breached? 8. What laws, rules, regulations, or policies are in place to protect economic and national security, such as protecting programs or individuals from missed payments, or preventing those with access to key information in these systems from sharing it with foreign adversaries? With regard to these payment systems, were any of these laws, rules, regulations, or policies breached? 9. Once obtaining access to these systems, Mr. Musk or others in the Trump administration may have been able to illegally enact a political agenda by unilaterally restricting disbursement of money approved for specific purposes by Congress. Were protections in place to prevent these abuses? 10. These Treasury payment systems are critical to ensuring payment of the national debt and avoiding default, and Mr. LeBrick, who was put on leave when Mr. Musk and others were given access, was a key official responsible for enacting the extraordinary measures the department has been taking to avoid a default on debt. Did the circumstances leading up to Mr. LeBrick's departure increase the threat of a default on the national debt? 11. Elon Musk's X announced that it would be partnering with Visa on a payment system it plans to launch this year. This raises the possibility that individuals granted access to these payment systems may be using information they obtained via this access for their own personal gain. Were appropriate protections in place to identify and manage individuals with conflicts of interest who may have had access to these systems? 12. Elon Musk's Tesla has significant ties to China, where the company operates its largest factory by output and receives favorable treatment from the Chinese government. Were appropriate protections in place to identify and manage national security risks related to individuals who may have had access to the system? We thank you for your attention to this important matter of economic and national security. Sincerely, Elizabeth Warren, ranking a member committee on banking, housing, and urban affairs. Ron Wyden, United States Senator, ranking member, Committee on Finance.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk's reign of chaos has exposed a gaping hole in our democracy. A hole so wide they're driving a fleet of dumpster fires straight through it and at top speed. For the first 248 years, our government was not just bound by the Constitution, but also a shared understanding of limits, unwritten rules that presidents, senators, and members of Congress honored to keep our democracy intact. But those days are gone. Donald Trump, fueled by Project 2025, and Elon Musk, is hell-bent on breaking every norm, and they are ruthlessly exploiting every weakness in the system. And unless we confront this reality head-on, the damage will be great and perhaps irreversible. Warren and Wyden's letter is a great move, but it's just a letter. Somehow we didn't have the guardrails in place to prevent this egregious breach of our democracy. And now I want to know what you think. Are Democrats up for the task of striking back at Trump's authoritarian madness with full force? And do you think letters like these have any teeth to make real change? I'm Dan. Thanks for watching. Please comment below, and let's continue to occupy democracy together.